Welcome back to the game room, where we are over the arcade side of the room today to show you some of my absolute favourite games in my physical collection. So today we are looking at the arcades, but not all these arcades are as they seem. Some of them have been kind of modified to have actual consoles in them. So the one that we are going to focus on first is the one behind me, and that is the Time Crisis 2 arcade you see there. It is actually not a original Time Crisis 2 arcade machine. That's probably pretty easy to tell for people who are familiar with that machine. And let's go through why that is, and let's go through what it is. We'll do that very briefly, and then we're going into my favourite games on this arcade that are actually physical games, and you'll see why in a sec. So this arcade machine here actually came at a bargain price, and the person who I bought it off was actually pretty upset to let it go at that price, I think. So the person who I bought this off very kindly helped me put it in the back of the car when I got there. I wanted it on an eBay auction, and the bid started at 100, and I was lucky enough to snag it for that, because at the time I was living quite rural, so there wasn't really that much competition there for one that had been stripped down. I really wanted a light gun shooter. And as a lot of us know, to get one of those original light gun machines going is quite costly. They are very big units, they are very heavy units. So instead I thought, why don't I grab a normal kind of cabinet here, stand-up cabinet, and I'll put in some consoles in there rather than having arcade machine little bits and pieces. So that's what I did, and this is what I came up with. Let me switch it on for you, and then we'll take a look through the insides, and then I'll go through the games, and then I'll go through my favourites as well. So it has a CRT monitor in it. It's just a TV. From memory, it is, well, there it is there. Yes, it is an LG CRT. I've actually got a replacement one of these as well. So I have exactly the same unit. So if this one breaks down, I can replace that quite easily with the other spare one that I've got. They're the only CRTs that I have in my whole collection. Because they're so big and bulky, I don't actually like to use CRTs at all, but for a light gun setup with the way that I wanted it, I had to have it, so that's why we got it. So let's take a little look down at the bottom section, and then we'll go from there. Let me just get out my pedal, and let's open this machine up. So inside here I have a PlayStation 2 console. That's a PlayStation 2 Fat. It also plays PlayStation 1 games, and I have a Wii, which is just purely based or purely used for Wii games, nothing more. So I don't use the GameCube functions or anything. But I really did want the PlayStation 2 that kind of did the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, because the library of light gun shooters that you can get on both of those consoles is really strong, and having one without the other would be a bit of a shame, especially when you can get it all into one console. Now this is an A/B setup. It's not anything better than that, and I've just got an A/B switcher in there to swap it over between one console and the other. Inside the cabinet I keep a bunch of different guns. So I've got my Wii guns with the, whatever these are called. I can't even remember. It's been so long since I've used them. But the Wii guns with the little extra remotes on the front there. I've also got a shotgun there, and I've got another type of gun elsewhere that I can use. Spare pedal. And with the pedal does not work with the Wii games. The pedal is actually linked up to the original PlayStation controller, and it's just hard soldered into there to act as if one of the face buttons has been pushed, which is what a lot of these games look for. If you chuck one, actually if you do not have a pedal, if you put one of these PlayStation controllers in the second controller slot and you put it on the ground, when you have your light gun in, then you can actually stand on that, on the face buttons of the controller, and it will act as your pedal function. So that's all I've done, is kind of bypass that and made it an actual dip switch pedal, and so that it can work with my light gun games. Got another little Wii gun up there. They used to be super cheap, and now these things are becoming more expensive, especially if you want something that's kind of the better quality type of version. Then you're actually paying a little bit more money than you used to, that's for sure. Up the top here, I have the G-Con 2 for the PlayStation 2. I have the Namco G-Con 1 for the PlayStation games, and I have this one that my kids have well and truly broken to pieces, so that was a generic one that I don't use anymore, unfortunately. And that's the setup. Now that we've had a look at the kind of setup in here, let's have a look at some of my favorite games for these 3 consoles that I have in here. So starting with the PlayStation 1, I only have 4 physical games, even though I said that there are lots of different light gun shooting games on the PlayStation 1. I have only collected 4 that I've really liked. In the future, if I want to collect more, I'll grab those when I've played the ones that I've got. I've kind of come to a bit of a standstill with these, so these are the ones that I've got. I have Time Crisis Project Titan, which is almost like a second, a sequel to Time Crisis, except it is almost like a DLC. It's same engine and things like that. So I understand why they didn't make it a Time Crisis 2 and just made it a Project Titan, but it's more of the same. So if you like Time Crisis 1, then you will like that one as well. Point Blank 2, great party game, but not the one that I chose today. And Gunfighter: The Legend of Jesse James, which is a lot like Time Crisis in the way that it is, I'm pretty sure it's a cover shooter as well. It's definitely one, yes it is, it's a cover shooter just like the Time Crisis game. So I actually own 3 cover shooters where you can use the cover and pop out a cover with the pedal, and one that does not. Point Blank 2 is definitely right up there, and the only reason I haven't chosen it here is because I have it on my emulation console, so I actually enjoy it more there. But this game here is my favorite. This is the one that I have chosen as my very favorite game of PlayStation 1 light gun shooters. It is Time Crisis, the classic where you use the pedal to pop out of cover, and when you are in cover you cannot be shot. When you pop out of cover you can be shot, but you can't shoot from inside cover either, so you need to pop out to be able to shoot your enemies. The Time Crisis games were classics back in the day. We hadn't really seen anything like them before in terms of the cover shooter mechanic, and they really take the game to an all new level. One thing that I really love about the Time Crisis games and about these kind of light gun shooter games in general is that they are not the machine gun fire ones. You actually have to pop out and place each shot to make an accurate hit, and you only have your certain number of bullets or your certain number of ammunition before you have to pop in again. So you've got your 6 bullets and then that is it. So you have to make every single one count if you can. Time Crisis games are great in that they have kind of a color-coded, really easy to understand color-coded enemy system, where your ones that are red, if you have a pop-up of a red or an orange character, they're going to be able to shoot you a lot quicker than, say, your blue and your browns. So you can take your time with these ones to get the shots that you need on them. But as soon as you see one of those red characters, you better be ducking back into cover, otherwise you are going to get shot and lose one of your lives. This game is so much better with a pedal. If you don't have the pedal for this one, then it really makes the experience a whole lot less exciting, in my opinion, and it really takes away that mechanic that kind of makes this one different from all the rest. So if you do grab this one at any stage, remember to pop that second controller into the second control slot of your PlayStation, and then just step on the buttons of that controller, step on it, and you'll have yourself a pedal without having to make one of these, or without having to buy one with your gun. Because I know the Namco G-Con, the first one, did not come with a pedal. It was only with some of the knockoff type of third-party guns that you actually saw that become a thing. So there it is for PlayStation 1 light gun shooters. My favorite game is Time Crisis. Definitely, if you have never given Time Crisis a go, find a way to play it. Find any way that you can to have a go at this one, whether it be in the arcade machines or whether it can be a conversion like this. This one, although it's not exactly an arcade one-to-one recreation, it is really good. It is very close. The graphics are not quite as good. I'm not sure about the gameplay. I'm not that deep into the mechanics of the game, or not deep into learning about the mechanics of the game to really notice the difference. I just like to jump on, have a bit of fun, and then I'm off again. In the arcade versions or the emulated versions of these types of games, you can just push the start button as much as you want to retry and to continue your game. With these console versions, you actually have to become really good at it to be able to progress, because once your lives run out, then it is a game over. Not like the emulated ones where you're just feeding it pretend money. That is Time Crisis 1. Let's move on to the next console and see my favourite light gun shooter of that. We're going to look at PlayStation 2 next. PlayStation 2, a lot more physical games in the PlayStation 2 collection. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games in this collection, and I have chosen 2 of them as my absolute favourites. Ones that I haven't had much of a go at. I played a little bit of Resident Evil Dead Aim, but not very much. And Endgame I haven't played much of, so I don't know about that one. And Guncom 2, which is confusing because you play with the Guncon on the PlayStation, and then there's a game called Guncom. Out of this deck that I have left that I have had a good play of, I have 2 of my favourites. Let's jump into the first one. First one is one that you will have kind of guessed already, I'm sure, and it is Time Crisis 2. It is the one that is up on the marquee because it is my favourite light gun shooter of all time. It's the whole reason why I built this cabinet. Let's chuck this in and see why it is my favourite. It is my favourite light gun shooter in the arcades. It is everything that you would want from a sequel from Time Crisis 1. Time Crisis 1 set that kind of the standards of what these cover shooters would be, and then Time Crisis 2 took that and upped the graphics, upped the gameplay in my opinion, and really made something that didn't break any of those kind of gameplay mechanics that the first one had, and it just heightened them. The accuracy of the game is still very much prominent in Time Crisis 2. You need to be accurate in order to progress. It is not a machine gun fire, even though you can get a few different guns in Time Crisis 2. It is definitely one that you have to be accurate if you want to do well at all. The pedal is still very much in play. You duck away in cover by not pushing anything. You jump out of cover by pushing in your pedal button. And when you're out of cover, you can shoot enemies. And when you are in cover, you reload automatically when you duck in. And you can't be shot by the enemies. Okay, so it is a race against time, just like in Time Crisis 1, hence the name. This time we need to upgrade to a different gun, so we've got the Guncon 2 here. Unfortunately, these don't have any rumble. You might notice that when I calibrate these things, I don't calibrate them up here because that's not where I'm shooting. If you're calibrating one of these games, you want to really kind of calibrate it down at where you're going to be holding the gun, because you're not going to be up here the whole time aiming down the sights. Really, you want it down here with the calibration. Just give you a little look at this one. Most of you will be familiar with this game, I'm sure, but it's always fun to see Time Crisis 2 in action. This is interesting too. You can have split screen on this machine. If you get 2 PlayStations together, then you could actually have 2 machines. I actually thought about doing that at one time, but I just thought the space that it would take up for the benefit of having that extra player for the one type of game that I'm going to play, it wasn't worth it. So I stuck to the one version here, but you can have 2 players working on the same screen. The problem is that it boxes up your play screen so that there is a heap of screen that's not being used. Not at an equal split. It goes, into the corners if you're playing that 2-player mode. You can play double gun, so if you've got if you have 2 guns, you can play 2 guns with 1 player and still have the pedal underneath, which is cool as well. I always go to the story mode. I know it's got the trial version of that, but I really just enjoy the vanilla version of this. It is my favourite, and it's my favourite for a reason. it's just because of the whole experience of the game rather than just choosing to rush through it. I am going to rush through it today though, just to show you what it's like though. So if you're playing 2 players, then your second player, that would be them, and you can actually see them moving as you play, but they're certainly not something that you need to have to play the game. So yeah, that accuracy counts in this one. Same as before, the different colors of the enemies indicate how kind of how quickly they're going to shoot you. So the ones that are blue are minimal threat. As you work your way up towards the red kind of colors, then you're going to have enemies that are going to be able to shoot you very quickly. So you want to disperse of those brighter colors. There's one. You want to disperse of those brighter colors first, and then work your way to the others. In saying that, there we go. I just got shot by blue. So the other ones are still very much a threat. It is not an easy game, but it is one that, as I said, benefits with your accuracy. The better you are at being accurate, then the much easier time you're going to have with this one rather than spraying the bullets. Something else that I really loved about these games was that you didn't have crosshair on the screen. So a lot of these games these days, especially even if you go to the arcade machines, even if you go to the arcades, a lot of these games now have a big crosshair on the screen to show you where you're shooting, and I absolutely despise that. It is fun for the younger kids, but when you're looking at a light gun game, I really enjoy the skill of it rather than just spraying everywhere. And without having the crosshair on the screen, it makes it a whole lot more fun for me. You can see the graphical upgrade from the from the first to the second game. It's just night and day. It's really nice upgrade. Something that I want to correct before I go any further. I did say you plug in the pedal in the first player spot and the gun in the second. That is true for the PlayStation 1. So in PlayStation 1 games, your gun goes in the first player position, your pedal goes in the second. In these PlayStation 2 games, it's actually reversed. So if you're looking for a pedal, put your controller in, drop it on the ground in the first player position, and your gun goes in the second player position. Just wanted to let you know that little trick before we get any further, because otherwise you really miss out on that pedal experience. Okay, my other favorite game on the PlayStation 2 light gun, if I had to choose a second, and it is a very close second, it would be Virtua Cop. Now, Virtua Cop Elite Edition on the PlayStation 2 is a really great collection. It says it features over 15 stages through 6 different levels, 2-player cooperative mode, training mode, gallery, a high score ranking table, and so on. I actually have this one on my emulated arcade machine. It is a great game there as well as here, but it is definitely one that if you get yourself a light gun on the PlayStation 2, this is so highly recommended. Let me chuck it in and tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, so this game has Virtual Cop 1 and 2 on it. You start off, even though it has file 1, 2 and 3, it gradually gets harder. So you can choose from any one that you would like at the start, but it's going to be quite difficult if you started at the ones up on the right. So I love starting down at the easier ones to begin with. You're going to have to be accurate with your shots. It does have a crosshair on the enemies, like it looks like a crosshair, but it's actually just a target, or it's almost like a glowing target. And the closer that target gets to the enemy, the closer they are to shooting you. You have your 6 bullets again, like before, and you are trying to make every shot count. When you want to reload on this one, you shoot off screen to reload and then back on screen to place your bullets. One shot will do most of these enemies, so you don't need to spend too much time. Once you've got your one shot in, then you move on to your next. It's got your civilians that pop up in between, and if you shoot one of those, you lose some of your life, and you just make your way through the game like that. From memory, the Virtua Cop 2 is very much the same type of game as this one. Sometimes you get stages where you are moving, the camera is moving at the same time as you needing to place your shots, but definitely in these earlier levels, the camera is quite static. It will do the zoom in, but you won't be moving around on the backs of anything for a little while until you get used to the controls. And then it puts you into cars and things like that. And so on. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that little look there. We're going to have a look at the Wii next, so let's have a look at that. The thing I dislike the most about the Wii setup with the light gun is the reliance on batteries. So having batteries that are charged, having batteries that are ready to go is really quite a pain, especially when this isn't, you know, the normal space that we're using every day. So it definitely becomes something that you've got to have pre-planned. The other thing that's quite tricky about a Wii light gun setup is that you have to make room for your sensor bar. So if you're going for a setup like I have here, you actually need to find some space where you can have that sensor bar that's going to sit very close to that screen that you are using. Now with a Wii, I would not suggest setting a Wii light gun up like I have here. The reason being is because I have this on a CRT. These look much better on a LCD in my opinion. Alright, so my favourite light gun shooters on the Wii are as follows. The House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return, and I'll chuck in the House of the Dead Overkill on there as well. Definitely like this game a lot more, House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return. This one is good. It is kind of like a... They've gone with an update on all the graphics and a little bit on the gameplay as well, and the over-the-top kind of silliness of the House of the Dead franchise, and made something that is very cool, very B-grade horror type of setup, but also very, very crude. So just keep that in mind if you're going to play any of these. This one, the language and the actual visuals and things, super crude. Where this one is kind of back in the day arcade kind of tameness that you would expect to see out of those old arcade machines. The House of the Dead, I remember back when I would play it in the arcade, used to have the big curtain around it, and it was part of the mystique of it all. I definitely think that it was not just a way to kind of keep out younger people from playing, but also to kind of make it this like a circus sideshow where it might be a little bit too scary for other people, or like when you go to the ghost train at the amusement parks and things like that. It had very much that type of feel. Out of number 2 and 3, number 2 is my favourite. Number 3 is good. It brings in shotguns, and I think it's got machine guns and stuff like that as well. But number 2 is like it. The reason why I like the other PlayStation games is because it's very much about accuracy. It is a lot harder for me to play this accurately on the Wii than it is to play it on my arcade emulator. I've got some light guns there, and I certainly have a lot easier time, even though that's set up with a sensor bar as well. Just the Wii's a bit clunky. It is one that you do benefit from sitting in a seat with the Wii in front of you. Some nice little extra sounds happening on the remote there. So if you are playing this game at home, I would suggest going to the crosshairs. Disable those straight away. Original House of the Dead games, they did have a go at bringing in a little bit of story to it. It is a B-grade horror type of fare, but it also had a little bit of kind of presentation to it. It is a shoot off the screen to be able to reload with these games, just like it is with your virtual cops. Just to recap before I finish off this video, my favourite physical light gun games that I have in my collection were Time Crisis for the PlayStation 1. For the PlayStation 2, my favourite is definitely Time Crisis 2, but if I had to choose a second, then it would be Virtual Cop. And for the Wii, it is House of the Dead 2 and 3, with House of the Dead 2 being, it just takes that place over House of the Dead 3 for me. I think that number 2 is a better game than number 3. But there you have it. Thanks very much for watching another one of these videos. If you have not seen my other favorites in my physical game collection, then please go back and check out those videos. That would be very much appreciated. Drop a comment in the comment section and I'll be sure to respond to all of those. If you wanted to share your favorites, I would love to see them. I'm sure other people who come by and read these comments would also like to hear your thoughts. If you have any of your own that you would like to film and tag me in so I can watch them and comment on them and all that good stuff as well, please do so. I'd love to do that. This original idea was posed by Chris from the Real Bit Wars, so if you haven't checked out his stuff, please do so. I would love to see you back in the game room. Please make sure that you do. I'll have another one of these coming up for a different system with different favorite physical games. So thank you very much and I'll see you then.